Well, welcome to Ravensdale Bible Academy. Today's course is Think Again Christian Fact Checking, and our lesson for the day is the slide, What is hate speech versus unifying words? We want to take a look at this statement and we want to check it out. We want to explore, I don't know if it's necessarily a fact as much as an opinion based on facts. And you'll find that a lot of fact checking is exactly that, opinions supported by facts. And so what we want to do is we want to take a look at this speech. It was a speech given just a little while ago during the 2020 presidential inauguration of Joe Biden. This is Amanda Gordon. Amanda Gordon is a beautiful 22-year-old poet, award-winning poet. She's very well educated from Harvard. She's also an activist. And she gave a speech from a poem that she actually wrote in an attempt to launch and inspire the new presidency of Joe Biden. And the entire tone of Biden's transition has been unity, unity. But the question is, was this a speech of unity, or was it a speech that really just continued to incite hate? There's nothing about how much she loves America. There's nothing about the love of America. There's nothing about anything that's really positive about the past or current America. And so the question is, well, what kind of a speech was this really? We want to listen to and explore things like the tone of the speech. We want to look at the euphemisms coded within the poem, the poetry of the speech. And so first, let's define a couple things, because hate is a very strong word, and I understand that. Hate is the idea of despising, of loathing, detesting, resenting, disliking. It's hostile to the other side, and it doesn't, or it's not in agreement, right? But the disagreement moves past disagreeing into like that idea of loathsome dislike. And how do you know if somebody has a loathsome dislike? Well, you have to watch their actions and you have to watch the things that they say. On the flip side, let's look at words or definitions of unifying that we should be listening for in the speech. Words of unification that are the idea of bringing together, the idea of joining, the idea of merging, seeing a trend here, the idea of fusing, of blending, of integrating. The idea of unity is described as a marriage where two become one, right? That's what unifying means. And so when we look in the comparison and the contrast of hate versus unifying words, that's the way we want to look through it. We need to understand our words. Well, what about the Bible? Does the Bible give us any kind of insight into the depth of, let's say, unification, the depth of, in order to unify, in order to be the opposite of hate? Well, then we're probably talking about something that looks like love. Well, in 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4 through 8, we see a really great definition of love. And I really want you to pay attention, because throughout this lesson, we're asking, does this person love America? Does this person, or is this person trying to unite Americans in a loving, non-hateful way? So this is what love is. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not jealous. Love does not brag and is not arrogant. Love does not act unbecomingly, and it does not seek its own. Now listen to this one. It's not provoked, nor does it take into account wrongs suffered. It doesn't keep track of the past wrongs suffered. Love doesn't have a checklist of all the wrongs. And certainly, love doesn't keep a checklist of all the wrongs that were done 200 years ago by forefathers against other forefathers and then blame you. Love does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. That's what love is. That's what we want to see in a unifying speech. We want to see words that talk about an enduring faith that never fails in that other person. We want to see something that's looking forward, not looking back, not keeping track of wrong suffered, not rejoicing with past evils or past sins or wrongs. That's not what love does. Well, back to the speech. An element of fact checking then is based on checking who your key people are. So, for an example, when we think of news reporters, and I think of Fox News, their tagline is fair and balanced. We're fair and balanced conservatives, right? They don't make any qualms about being conservative. Everybody knows they're conservative. They don't try to hide it. On the flip side, and by the way, so when they're giving a report, you know that they have a conservative viewpoint. You know that they're seeing it through conservative lenses, right? Whereas CNN acts as though they're impartial. They act as though they're non-biased journalists, when in fact they're the most liberal, the most biased news team in America right now. And so the idea there is, look, I look through liberal lenses, but I'm going to pretend like I don't. You know what? Part of the honesty, part of your fact checking and trying to understand who or what this person's trying to communicate, no matter how attractive they are, is, well, who are they? Well, who is Amanda Gorman? Who does Amanda Gorman say she is about herself? She says she is a self-proclaimed activist. She is an activist. She is a feminist. She is against racial marginalizing. She's for African dysphoria. So what does that mean? That means her lens is coming from the world is racist. That's her lens. That's her self-proclaimed lens. And so it doesn't matter how she sugarcoats it. That's how she thinks. Now, another thing that we need to know about her is, well, how did she grow up? If she's bitter, if she has an axe to grind, if there's been harm done to her, well, that would be certainly understandable why she would have that perspective. But the truth is, even though her mom's a single mom and seems like she did a great job to work hard and get her children through school, and her children, are work hard and successful, that's fantastic. But Amanda didn't grow up going to school in Compton or at Crenshaw High or South Central, where there were gangs and violence and bad teachers. No, she went to a private school in Santa Monica where the tuition's $42,000. Now, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and assume that that she still, they didn't have a lot of money and she earned some kind of scholarship, and that's fantastic. I don't put her down for that at all. That's great. The point here is, but she had some good breaks. She didn't have to go to Crenshaw. She didn't have to go to Inglewood. She was able to go to a very affluent upper crust school that helped her get a fantastic education that her peers did not get, and she took that education and catapulted it to Harvard. And so for some reason she is this activist and against racial marginalization, but as far as I can see, it hasn't stopped her. It hasn't slowed her down. It hasn't been bad for her. So I'm not sure why she would then portray this idea that all Black Americans or poor Americans or marginalized Americans are living under this cloud when she hasn't. And so we go to her poem. We want to evaluate and look at her poem, and now that we have the facts, now that we understand who she is, now when we're interpreting her poem, we can have some background, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to look at this from a negative. We want to look at this and say, look, this is a speech of hope. This is a speech of unification. This is a speech that's going to unify America, right? Bring Americans together by talking about America in a loving way, not in a hateful way, not in a way of keeping account of wrong suffered, but in a way of never failing, right? Like the way love is defined in the scriptures. So our first line is this: when day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? So right off the bat, we get a really good sense of the tone of this speech. Now, remember, I'm a pastor. I also have given speeches and conferences, and I'm a communicator. And so one of the first things that you do when you're communicating is you have your why meet statement. Why are we here? What's the point? What is my main purpose? And so coming out of the gate, you want to make sure that everybody knows this is the tone I want to set. So the tone that she is setting is, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? Well, Amanda, I would say you found some light when you went to high school at that $42,000 school. I would say that you found some light when you went to Harvard. I would say that you found some light when you found your way to giving the speech in front of the president and the America and the world. So I'm not sure what you mean by never-ending shade. It seems like the shade ended for you a long time ago, and we can talk about countless other people that the shade has ended for. America is built on sun. America is built on providing opportunities for people from all over the world that have conquered great trials, great hurdles. So I'm not sure what she means by never-ending shade. Back to her poem: the loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. Again, it's this idea that, look, even when you think it's good, even when you think it's quiet and peaceful, it's not. No, you're really just lost in the sea. You're just trying to survive. You're like a drowning child in the middle of the pool, just trying not to die, just trying to survive. That's her picture here. Where a skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother, and a dream of becoming president. Again, she keeps setting this tone of negativity. Where a skinny black girl descended from slave and raised by a single mother, and a dream of becoming president. I would say that Amanda has done very, very well for herself. She's doing very well. Descended from slaves and raised by a single mother. Listen, she may not realize this, but many Americans have been descended by very amazing and awesome family members who were poor immigrants from all over the world. And guess what? Most of them look like me. I am a Mexican American. I am the second generation born in this country. That means my grandparents, my great-grandparents, were born in another country and did not look like me. In fact, my great-great-grandfather is as dark as Amanda. And so when you start talking about this idea of kind of the us versus them mentality, as though you have something that's uniquely different, let me tell you something. We've got Irish, we've got Italians, we've got Chinese, we've got Norwegians. Listen, we have people from all over this world that have come here to find a better way, and they've done it. This is a great and awesome and amazing country. Praise it. Don't use it as a crutch. The next passage, to compose a country committed to all country, cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. That is who America is. We have done a great job of committing to all cultures, colors, and characters, rich and poor. The American dream is living, active, and it's alive. I've seen it every day as I was in marketing and advertising. I see it all the time as a pastor. I see it all the time in Christian school where I meet people from all over the world who have done so very, very well because of the opportunities that this country has provided. This country provides equal opportunities. It doesn't provide or guarantee equal outcomes. We will not all end up the same. That's true. We don't all start the same. That's true too. But this is the best place in the world to start from nothing, to start from any kind of oppression or any kind of trial or marginalization you can think of, and look forward to what lies ahead. The Bible talks about forgetting what lies behind, pressing on to what lies ahead. Continuing in the poem, and so we lift our gaze. Our gaze is not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. See how everything is clothed in this negativity? If she talks about lifting our gaze or a future, she's got to bring right back the past. She can't ever, forget the wrong suffered, as the Bible talks about what love is. It's because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into. Again, she can't get out of the negative past. It's not just the future. It's the past we step into and how we repair it, as though we have to repair it. What is it about the past that I can repair? What is it about the past that I want to repair? What is it about the past of your people that you need to repair with me or mine with you? You don't even know who you're talking to. This is the irony of all ironies. We have this weight that's hanging on our country, this idea of white versus black. Let me help you out. First of all, I'm not either one. I'm Mexican American. I look like my German Irish side of the family. I grew up on the Mexican side of my family. I grew up in LA. I grew up in Mexican neighborhoods with my Mexican family because of sports. A lot of my friends were black, and then when I became a believer, I was saved in an all-black church in South Central LA. And so, you know what? That's my background. I have absolutely no beef or grind with race. It's who I am. And so when I think about this issue, when I think about clinging to the negative past, I think of the Civil War as a history major. I think of the 230,000 white Northern Americans who died to free slaves. What an absolute slap in the face to continue to stir up the negative side of America when there's an amazing positive side. When people went and died, they died. That's a beautiful thing. That's a sacrificial thing. That's doing for others. That should be praised. And then the amazing great opportunities, not easy opportunities. No, not easy. Wasn't easy for my family either. It hasn't been easy for the Koreans, hasn't been easy for the Chinese, hasn't been easy for the Italians, hasn't been easy for the Irish. We have to move on. We have to think about all the beautiful, glorious victories in America. not continuing to bring up past negativities. That's why the question is, and my question to you is, when you hear the words of this speech, does this sound like something that brings us together or something that continues to tear us apart? Well, I'm going to let you be the judge. You're able to judge whether or not this slide was true. Hate speech or unifying words? And if they were unifying words, how were they unifying words? So think again, Christian.